Hello everyone! I have been building a house for activist roommates in The Sims during this month of March. I decorated each room individually on my shorts, so we're going to be putting them together in this video. Each of the 6 rooms has been decorated in an industrial style with dark colors and pops of purple and green, and if you would like to watch them coming together, I have a playlist of those shorts linked down in the description. But for now, let's just go ahead and start putting this house together. For some reason I decorated these rooms in Copperdale, but I actually didn't want them to be in such a natural space. I wanted them to be in more of an urban space, so I eventually moved them to Evergreen Harbour in one of those neighborhoods that has a lot of concrete and lots of houses. But now you can see that I am trying to put this house in a way that makes sense without it being so big, because I wasn't thinking that this was a massive house, and that's why I only decided for it to have 1 bathroom. But I really knew that I wanted the living room and dining room to be downstairs, because I wanted that space to look like a converted garage, and that's actually why it is the only room with a concrete flooring. And it also has that garage door outside and inside, and you can actually just switch it out for one of the DIY garage door murals that come with City Living, but I wanted to have them pre-painted for this speed build. But if you would prefer to have it as a skill building item, it is a very easy thing to replace, and there's actually 2 versions of this door, one that has the rolled up metal on top of it and one that doesn't seem to have it. So maybe you could have that second one and it would make more sense with how the inside of this room looks like. So I wanted to have that next to the kitchen and then to have the office downstairs as well. And I was thinking that that office was probably meant to be a bedroom, but these roommates are, I've mentioned, they are activists and they take their work very seriously, and they would have much rather had a functioning office in their house than the bedrooms are upstairs. I was thinking that one of them is for a single sim and the other one is for a couple. I was kind of thinking that this had been some sort of industrial building, like an actual industrial building, and it had been converted into a house. I don't really know what it was. Maybe it was some sort of shop, or it was used for some storage. I'm not really sure, but I really wanted to have that garage door and stuff that looked very industrial and not very polished all over this build. And the reason why I chose to have this be a house for activists is that since this was going to be the build for the month of March, and this is when we have International Women's Day, I wanted for it to be focused around people who are interested in women's rights and gender equality in general. So I was thinking that probably all of them are women, or maybe one of them is non-binary, and so that's why I decided to have purple as an accent color, because it is one of the most important colors in feminism, going back to, I believe, the suffragettes. So it's a color that has a very long history with women's rights, and I also chose green for a similar reason. And in places as the office or the living room, I have some club stuff from Get Together that has these purple butterflies. So there's some banners and a rug, because I was thinking that maybe this was a logo for their organization or the group that they belong to. But yeah, I wanted for this space to really say that this is for people who are mainly interested in activism and human rights, and so that they have decorated it a little, but it is not like super well put together. They just know that they like a few things like purple, and they maybe like this style of furniture, but mainly they are just interested in having a place to live that works for them. And I decorated the office for photographers and designers, because I was thinking that these sims are artistic and that it is part of how they do their activism. Like, I included some of those. I think they're called picket signs for protests. And I was thinking that one of the things that they are very passionate about is to have like photographic evidence and really good posters that make people think about issues that we are facing in our world. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to do when I was working on this series, because I included some statistics and facts about gender inequality in each of these videos. They're just very short sentences, and I try to get them to be all global statistics. So, of course, each region has different statistics and people live different realities, and I was doing them in a very general sense. But it was something that I really wanted to do because I wanted to add to that discourse of, I think it's called Women's History Month. We don't really have that here where I live, or we don't call it that, but I didn't want it to just be entertainment, though of course there's nothing wrong with something just being for entertainment. But I was interested in that because I have actually worked a bit as a designer with organizations who are working for human rights, and it just felt like it was something that I wanted to do with this build. But anyway, now we have moved it to Evergreen Harbour, and I tried to have like an enclosed patio, but I didn't really like how that was coming out, so I decided to have it open, and eventually I decided to have a large community space. Like it's supposed to look like a community garden, and I also added some other kids' activities and stuff, because I was thinking that it was one of those kinds of activism that I have seen that is like very environmental, and they usually grow like fruit trees or stuff that you can eat, so that people who can't afford them, they can just garden in these areas that aren't being used for anything useful. So I wanted to have something like that in The Sims, and of course only the Sims that are living here are going to be actually able to garden them unless you make a club that is focused around gardening, so that would be very cool to have it be like a real community space. But yeah, as it is, it's just something that you would pretend to have. But I really liked how it came out, and I also really liked how this hallway came out, because when I am working on these houses, they tend to have really large hallways that are meant to smooth over the weird layout issues that I have, because I built each room separately without thinking about the house as a whole. So sometimes they have very interesting shapes, but I think that this one has a shape that doesn't look as weird. Like, I think it doesn't look like a shell challenge, so I guess that's a win. And in this hallway, I wanted it to be very functional, to have some storage, and I included that attic box of decorations, and I included a mirror and some things that can be used for charisma, because if you decide to join the politics career, you will need to have good charisma. And I also really wanted for it to have a rooftop space that was also very social, and again, it didn't look like it was expensive or anything, but The Sims of course really prioritize community, and so I decided to have a grill and some seating. I also had a telescope because I think telescopes are very cool, and I also wanted to have a dance floor and one of those murals, and I am not sure if it is possible to paint on this mural as it is here, underneath all of this furniture. But of course you could just move it around so that you can paint it, and once that it's painted you can just move it back. But I also wanted to have a punching bag and some music so that it would be like a good space for parties. And eventually I decided to go back up and add some solar panels, because I really wanted these Sims to be some sort of environmentally conscious activists, I suppose. I don't really know what kind of activism they do, and I kind of wanted to leave it open. So I didn't make a household to showcase this build, which is something that I normally do for the introduction of these videos, but I really wanted them to be open for interpretation, so that you could decide what they were most interested in and what their genders were and their ethnicities, because I know that people are each affected by different things, and so I didn't want to make it like very general, because that's something that I have seen people complain about, people being very loud about what they think is their most pressing issue in society, and it might not be. But anyway, now I am adding stuff outside, such as those, I don't know what they are called. They're like markers for Sims to stand in when they're having a picture taken, and I made sure to have enough space for you to add the tripod if you want to take pictures with that wall as a backdrop, which I really wanted to have in this house, a space for pictures. So if you wanted to, you could absolutely have a photographer living here, and of course the politician is an option. One of the branches in that career is charity organizer, so I think that's as close as you could get to being a professional activist in The Sims. And there's, I think, 2 computers, so you have many options, and since there's a huge garden, you could also have a garden area. I have that garden area, some hopscotch, and another mural of those. And yeah, we're now just finishing this house, making it look sort of put together as a community and not really thinking about aesthetics, but of course, I also think that it looks pretty nice. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to download this house, it's going to be in the gallery as always. My ID is brand new. And if you like this video and you would like to see more videos like this, I do post speed builds twice a week. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.